A great white shark is hanging upside down in open water, and it is not fighting. Its body has gone rigid, its jaws are slack. It is fully awake and completely helpless, held in place by an animal that has done this before. In a moment, that animal will open the shark along its belly, take one organ, and swim away. This is the most feared predator in the ocean. 2,000 pounds of muscle and teeth, the animal every other animal avoids, and something is eating it alive, on purpose, with the calm of a surgeon. The great white is not the top of the food chain. It never was. There is one animal it runs from, up and down entire coastlines, and that animal is watching the same water you are. The question is not whether great whites fight back. The question is why they stopped trying. Start with what you think you know. The great white is the shark from the nightmares. Up to 20 feet long, over 2 tons. A bite that closes with more force than almost anything alive. It can detect a single drop of blood in a volume of water the size of a swimming pool. It hits from below at 30 miles an hour and lifts seals clean out of the sea. For 50 years, film and fear have told you the same story. When a great white enters the frame, the scene is over. Nothing challenges it, nothing hunts it. It is the ending, not the middle. And that story is wrong in one specific, deadly way. Because there is an animal that treats a full-grown great white the way a great white treats a seal. Not as a threat, as food. The word apex means nothing swims above you. And for the great white, that word does not apply. The animal above it is the orca, the killer whale, and the name was never a metaphor. An orca is bigger, faster in a straight sprint, and it does not hunt alone the way a shark does. It hunts in families that share a language, a plan, and a memory. Where a great white is a weapon, an orca is a strategy. And somewhere along the line, some of those strategies turned toward the one prey nobody expected them to touch. Not the seals the sharks were chasing, the sharks themselves. To understand how a whale takes apart the ocean's most efficient killer, you have to watch what it does in the first 30 seconds of the attack. Because it does not bite, it flips. Here is the part that sounds invented and is not. An orca will ram a great white, drive it, and force it to roll belly up in the water. And the instant that shark is upside down, something switches off inside it. Sharks have a reflex called tonic immobility. Turn many species onto their backs and they fall into a trance, a paralysis-like stillness where the body simply stops. Breathing slows. The muscles quit. Scientists still argue about why it exists. The orcas do not care why. They only care that it works. They hold the shark inverted, motionless, drowning, without a real fight left in it. The ocean's most dangerous animal, switched off by being turned over. And once it is still, the orca does something that tells you this was never rage. It was shopping. The orca does not shred the shark. It opens it in one place, cleanly, between the pectoral fins, and reaches for a single organ, the liver. In a great white, the liver is enormous, up to a quarter of the animal's entire body weight, and it is soaked in oil. That oil is rich in a compound called squalene, and it is dense with energy, some of the most concentrated fuel in the sea. To an orca that burns thousands of calories a day keeping a warm body moving through cold water, a shark's liver is not a snack, it is a payload. So the orca takes it precisely and leaves the rest. Along these coastlines, researchers keep finding the same thing washed ashore. Great white carcasses, nearly whole, with one surgical opening and the liver gone. The animal that terrifies the ocean, reduced to a container for the one part worth taking. For a long time this was rumor. Sailors told stories, but nobody had watched it happen. That changed in 1997, off the Farallon Islands near San Francisco. Researchers were on the water when an orca struck a great white at the surface, held it and killed it in full view for the first time in the record. And then something stranger happened, something that mattered more than the kill itself. The other great whites in that area did not investigate. They did not scatter and return. They left. An entire local population of one of the most fearsome predators alive abandoned prime hunting ground after a single death and stayed gone for months. That was the first real hint that the sharks were not just being killed. They were keeping score. And a hemisphere away, two specific orcas were about to turn that behavior into a career. Off the coast of South Africa, two male orcas became famous, and you can tell them apart at a glance. Each has a dorsal fin that has collapsed and folded over, one leaning to the left, one to the right. So researchers named them Port and Starboard after the two sides of a ship. These two are not casual shark hunters. They are documented specialists. Around Kans Bay and False Bay, some of the greatest concentrations of great white sharks on Earth. Port and Starboard learn to find them, flip them, and take their livers with a precision that suggests years of practice. They move along the coast, and the sharks in front of them do the same thing the Farallon sharks did. They vanish. But this time, scientists had the whole coastline wired to watch it happen. And what the data showed was not a few dead sharks. It was an exodus. Before 2015, False Bay was one of the most reliable places in the world to see a great white. Cage diving boats ran daily. Then the orca attacks began, and the sharks did the math. By 2020, great white sightings in False Bay had dropped to nearly zero, not fewer, nearly none. A population that had defined that coastline for as long as anyone had records simply picked up and left. The cage diving industry that depended on them collapsed, boats tied up, businesses closed, because the star of the show refused to show. And the ecosystem underneath started to shift. When you remove the top shark, the animals it used to eat move in, and everything they eat feels it next. Two orcas, hunting one organ, rearranged an entire coastal food web. And the sharks still had not found the bottom of how afraid they could be. For years, one belief held the line. Even if orcas could do this, surely it took a coordinated pod, a team, to bring down something as dangerous as a great white. In June of 2023, off Mossel Bay, a drone erased that belief in about 2 minutes. Starboard, one of the two, was filmed killing a great white shark entirely alone. No pod, no help. He struck, flipped it, and had the liver in roughly the time it takes to read this paragraph, then surfaced holding the organ in his mouth. It was the first time science had ever recorded a single orca killing a great white by itself, and it moved the danger to a new level. This was no longer a group tactic that needed numbers. One animal acting alone could switch off the ocean's most feared shark and gut it before it understood what was happening. Now think about what that does to every other great white in the water. These sharks are not reading the news, but they do not have to. They can sense an orca's presence, likely through scent and chemical signals in the water. And when they detect it, they do not posture and they do not test it. They flee, sometimes clearing out of a hunting ground within minutes and staying away for weeks. Along parts of the South African coast, the mere arrival of these orcas empties the water of great whites the way a fire alarm empties a building. Consider what that means. An animal built entirely for killing, an animal with no natural fear of anything, has learned a single exception and made it absolute. It is not caution, it is terror, in the one predator we were sure did not feel it. So who really rules the ocean? The answer breaks the ranking you were taught. It is not the biggest teeth or the strongest bite. It is the animal that can learn, remember, teach, and specialize, and pass a technique from one hunter to the next. That is speculation worth naming as speculation, but the pattern points at it. Behavior like this looks learned, not born, which means it can spread, orca to orca, coast to coast. If it does, the great white's reign is not ending because it got weaker. It is ending because something smarter decided its liver was worth the trouble. The most feared animal in the sea turned out to be, from the right point of view, a delivery of concentrated oil that occasionally has to be turned over first. The ocean does not have a king. It has a smarter predator and a very expensive lunch. So, do great whites fight back? The honest answer is that the smartest thing a great white can do against an orca is not fight at all. It is run, and hope the water it runs to is empty. Here is the question worth leaving in the comments. If the great white is not the apex predator, and the orca hunts it for a single organ, then what, if anything, does the orca fear? Because there is one animal that even Port and Starboard tend to circle instead of charge, an animal that turns and faces a pod of killer whales and makes them reconsider. That is the next story. The most feared predator in the ocean just lost its crown to a whale. Next time, we find out who makes that whale hesitate. Ocean Uncovered. The stories hidden beneath the surface.